Hi guys, welcome to our rescheduled Cooking with Friends. I'm Amy, part of the School of Medicine Marketing and Communications team, and our special guest this evening is Prescott Stokes III, also a fantastic team member of our Marketing and Communications team. We'd actually hoped to host this Cooking with Friends a few weeks ago to round out Mardi Gras. Snova 21 happened, so we had to cancel that. The reason we chose the tail end of Mardi Gras is because Prescott is a fifth generation Louisianan. He was born and raised in New Orleans. So we decided it would be a nice way to round out our Mardi Gras season. But at the end of the day, Louisiana and Southern style food is relevant always and enjoyable always. So we asked him to bring with him this evening some of his favorites. So we are going to produce some shrimp po' boys. Of course, we're going to have a sweet beignet. And actually the cocktail for the evening is going to be a daiquiri. That is also a classic and a favorite in New Orleans. It's not going to be your typical frozen daiquiri that a lot of you guys kind of think about when you think of daiquiri. It's actually a shaker produced daiquiri. It's super refreshing, takes literally minutes, and I think you will want to end up wanting to add it to your cocktail summer repertoire. See if I had anything else well, Prescott loves to cook, he loves to produce Cajun food, he loves to produce Southern food, so we're going to turn it over to him and let him take it away. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Amy, for that wonderful introduction. All right, everybody, so I'm here, a native New Orleanian, and we're about to make some really good New Orleans style food. So like Amy said, we got the shrimp po' boy, we got the beignet mix, straight from Cafe Du Monde, straight from the coffee stand. And we're gonna make a daiquiri, which even without, most people know it with ice, but even in New Orleans you can get it without ice, but people just prefer it with ice, right? So, but it still tastes just as good. So the first thing that we're gonna do, I'm gonna move the beignet mix to the side, because the first thing that we are going to begin with is our shrimp po' boy. And before you can do anything, you have to start with the basic ingredients. So we have shrimp here. We have medium-sized shrimp here in this bowl. You can go for any shrimp that you like. If you like smaller shrimp, if you like medium-sized shrimp, or if you go for the colossal, super colossal shrimp, which is typically what they will serve you if you go to a restaurant in New Orleans and order a shrimp po' boy. If you order a seafood platter, they usually will get the biggest shrimp, right? So that's how you get a lot of that flavor.
These are jumbo, so not quite colossal, but they are big boys.
Yes, so they will fry up really nice. And the one of the main reasons about having the bigger shrimp is because when you fry them and you butterfly them, these are already butterflied, they look pretty because they kind of fluff out and get really, really big on top of the sandwich. So the bigger the shrimp, the more you'll get that look and taste. So it's all in your preference. I prefer the jumbo shrimp, super colossal shrimp, biggest I can find. And also one key thing I do want to tell everybody, when you're thinking about trying to recreate authentic New Orleans seafood, or actually just any seafood from the South, the key thing is the water, right? So I don't care what grocery store you go to and you pick out your shrimp, when they're frozen, or if you get them from right from the stand where you can get them fresh, right? What you don't want to do is a lot of rinsing, because when you rinse them, what happens is you lose the water, you lose the flavor. The flavor is in the water. I've got this from so many great chefs in New Orleans, and even places that will import Louisiana seafood to the East Coast, to New York, etc. They will all tell you that they will freeze it in the water that it came from out the Gulf and ship it on ice, and they don't do anything until they melt it out the water, and they won't really rinse them off, because once you get the water off it, you will start to lose the flavor. So my biggest tip for making sure that it's going to taste like you got it from the Gulf of Mexico is to leave the water. When it thaws out and it drains, let it sit and get all your ingredients and mix it together, but don't rinse the water off. All right, so We have our shrimp. The next thing you're going to need is a bag of Louisiana shrimp fry. Now, we had our bag. I'm sorry, Amy, where did I put the bag?
No.
I might have emptied it. So we have Louisiana.
A dumpster dive, but it was the only thing in there.
All right, so right here, we have Louisiana shrimp fry, and actually you can get that in this area, right? Like if you go to Kroger, if you go to Central Market, if you go to Walmart, Louisiana shrimp fry is really popular. This one is fish fry, but however, the only difference between Louisiana fish fry and shrimp fry is if they pre-season it. So sometimes they'll pre-season the shrimp fry, and sometimes you can get different fish fry that's already pre-seasoned. This one, however, is not pre-seasoned, but one of the key things is that it is crispy. So when you are in the store and you're looking for Louisiana fish fry or shrimp fry, I would suggest that you pick up the version that either says crispy or Southern style. Because when it says Southern style, that just means it's gonna come out a lot more crispier when you fry it. So Louisiana is a good brand. If you go into Walmart, Zatarain's is the most well-known brand that you will find in New Orleans. That's typically what I buy. I just go buy Zatarain's everything. So if you go, you can buy Zatarain's fish fry, shrimp fry, dirty rice mix, jambalaya mix, etc. They make a whole lot of things. So Louisiana or Zatarain's, that's gonna be your go-to. So once you get that, what you want to do is, to save yourself some mess and time, get you a Ziploc bag, and then you want to put that fish fry or that shrimp fry into a Ziploc bag, so that way you can put the shrimp into the bag and shake them up. You could also do it on a plate and kind of like dip them in, and you'll see some people do that. Get a little messy, but I'm giving you some real old school New Orleans tricks. The Ziploc bag. We're going for the Ziploc bag. All right, so the next thing you want to do is, since this one is not pre-seasoned already, you want to season it yourself. Now, this is the secret weapon that most New Orleanians know very, very, very well. This is called Tony Chachere's Creole Seasoning, which is kind of like seasoning all. So it's a mixture, right? So it's like red pepper, chili pepper, salt, normal pepper, garlic powder, etc. All of that mixed up into one. So you can start with this, or if you don't have it, you can just go into your pantry, salt, pepper, garlic powder, if you have onion powder, if you have red pepper, mix all of them together. Take about a teaspoon of each one, blend it all together, and you almost end up with the same thing. Tony Chachere's has some extra stuff that they won't tell you, but this is the go-to. In New Orleans, we use this on everything. My mom puts it on chicken. If she's frying pork chops, she'll put it on pork chops. She puts it on ground meat. Every single thing that they cook, and even in a lot of restaurants, they will either, some of them will use this, like if you go to like some of the local places, like let's say if you go to like a neighborhood market where they're like making po' boys and sandwiches, they'll really just use this to season everything. A lot of the fancy restaurants, they'll create their own version of this, but in some sense, it's gonna be this. So what you wanna do is, with this, you don't need a whole lot. Since we have 2 pounds of shrimp in this bowl, what I would do is start with about a tablespoon of this. And then you just want to dump it all in. And actually, that's about all you need right there, because it's really, really strong and really, really flavorful. So if you end up using too much of this, if you have high blood pressure, it's not gonna turn out well. You'll get a headache. So tread lightly. And I would also say if you only had 1 pound of shrimp, maybe only use a teaspoon of it. So we're gonna take and mix this together in the bowl, and if you wanted to really get down and dirty with it, you could just do it with your hands, which is like how I learned how to do it from like my mom, my grandmother. They just kind of, they get in.
Get in.
Yeah. So while we're doing that, we're gonna turn the oil on. So we have the oil, canola oil that Amy got, and you can use any type of canola oil you like. I prefer canola oil just because it cooks better and it's not as heavy as other oils that people might use. A lot of places you go, they might have peanut oil, right?
Yes.
Because it's like a little bit cheaper, easier to use,
Yep.
but it's really, really heavy, especially when you're frying things. So if you want to fry something, but you want the oil to come out a lot lighter, I go with canola oil. There's not really a preference. I use Wesson a lot when I get canola oil, but any canola oil that you can find, get the job done. So we need canola oil for this, and we have it getting heated right now, and so we're gonna heat it to 375 degrees. You gotta get it really, really, really hot. One thing that will ruin your fried shrimp or like your fried fish is if the grease is not hot enough or the oil is not hot enough when you stick it in. What'll happen is all of this, the breading will start to fall off into the oil, it gets messy. That's just totally not what you want. That's not what you want. You want it to come out crispy and pretty and stuck together. So you gotta make sure that oil is really, 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 really hot, right? So 375 is where you want it. And I will say for shrimp, it has to be steaming hot. So make sure you can see like a little bit of steam coming off the oil before you drop the shrimp in there, because the difference between shrimp and fish is that shrimp will fry a lot faster, right? But fish can sit a little bit longer and still end up the same way. But the shrimp, if it's not really hot when you drop it in, all of the breading will fall off and the shrimp will cook, but you just won't have as much of a coating on it. So that is totally not what you want. So make sure you get that really, really hot, and we will just continue to mix this up. Now, some people will season this and let it sit for a little bit. They might put it in a separate Ziploc bag, take the shrimp, put them in a separate Ziploc bag, put it in the refrigerator for like 15 to 20 minutes, just to kind of let the seasoning sit in and soak in. But remember what I said earlier about the water, right? So since I didn't drain any of the water off when I season it, and if you can see, you get this nice shiny coat, right? That's going on with the seasonings. So now you're blending the seasonings with the water. So you're getting, that is really how you really capture that flavor we got here. All right, so now we have our shrimp prep. We have our shrimp fry here, and we have our grease getting hot. The next thing you want to do is make sure you have a bowl or a plate or just a shallow dish. Make sure you line it with a lot of paper towels to catch the excess oil that's gonna come off the shrimp when you pull it out of the fryer. It's gonna be really hot, but what's great about that is once it drains, you get the excess oil off the shrimp, and then you just end up with a nice crispy golden shrimp. It's just gonna be amazing. I love it, I love it, I love it. So while we're still waiting on this fryer to get hot enough to put the shrimp in, let's turn Amy's fryer on here. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the beignets, which actually take a little bit more prep. It gets a little bit messy.
Okay, but you talk and I'll.
All right. So with the beignet mix, what you want to do is the Cafe Du Monde beignet mix. You can actually go online and order this, right? You can literally go to cafedumonde.com and order this beignet mix if you can't get it. Sometimes if you go to Arlington tends to have a lot of New Orleans themed things. There are a lot of New Orleanians who live in Arlington for, I don't know the reason, but they do. So if you happen to be at a grocery store in Arlington, you might be able to just find this on the shelf.
I've seen, I can't tell you which grocery stores, but I've definitely seen it at the grocery.
Yeah.
So you just have to look, I think.
So, so when you start with the beignet mix, you want to get you a medium-sized bowl to be able to mix it together. So you're going to need 2 cups of this.
Okay.
So we already have a cup in.
Okay.
Amy is going to add our second. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to add about 3/4 of a cup of water.
3/4?
Yeah. All right. Perfect. And you don't want to add too much water because you don't want it to be thin, right? So Amy can go ahead and begin mixing that up. And then also I want to say while she's mixing that, the same deal for beignets. You need the oil to be extremely hot. So you want to take that same canola oil that I talked about, and you want to heat it to about 375 degrees. And I will say the same thing that I said for the shrimp. Make sure you can see a little bit of steam coming off of it, because when you drop the beignets in, they're gonna cook really fast, and you need it to be really, really, really hot. So that way they can get crispy really fast with the flour on top that we're gonna add, I'm gonna talk about in a second. But also, what you don't want is the beignets to just sit in the oil and soak up the oil, because then they'll be really oily, so you don't want that. So now, as we can see, yeah, how's your arm feeling?
That's good.
All right. So now, once you mix it, it's gonna be pretty thick, right? So as you can see, this is not runny at all. It's like it'll stick to the spoon. It's so thick, and that's what you want to be able to pat it out. So the next thing you're gonna do is get you a cutting board. You can do this on a plate. If you have a really clean counter, you can do it on a counter, but I prefer a cutting board, because actually you can get a better shape for your beignets. So we have the cutting board, and Amy, you're gonna get some flour.
This flour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where our all-purpose flour comes in. This is where it actually gets really, 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 really messy.
Okay.
And if you ever go to Cafe Du Monde, or you go to anywhere that makes beignets,
They're covered?
they're always covered in flour everywhere, because it just gets really messy, and I'm about to get really messy right now. So you want to take, this is about a half a cup of flour, and you want to put it on your board. Slide this to the side. You want to put it on your board like that, and then you kind of want to spread it around the board. Spread it around the board. Now the reason why you're doing this is because the beignet mix is so thick that if you just put it directly on the board with no flour, it's just gonna stick to the board, right? So you really are using the flour to make sure you can spread it out and it won't stick to the board, right? So you're gonna get real messy. Flour popping up everywhere. All right, so now that you've got it there, still have our oil getting hot, we're gonna take the beignet mix, and then we're just going to plop it right down in the middle. Right down in the middle. Get a whole lot of that. All right, Amy, you ready to get dirty?
Uh-huh. And I'll get that out of your way.
All right. So we're gonna get that out the way, and then now, Amy, what we're gonna do is, since we already got one layer, we're gonna take this rolling pin, and can you give me a little bit more flour?
Sure.
So before you begin to roll it with the rolling pin, the beignet mix will actually do the same thing without any flour on top of it. So pour it directly on top of the beignet mix.
Good?
Heavy-handed, you can go a whole lot. All right.
We're good?
There we go. There we go. All right. And if you have any questions as I'm going along, feel free to throw out some questions. I've got some answers, or Amy has some answers. And so now you want to take it, and then you're going to just start to roll it out. Roll it out. Roll it out. Roll it out. And so now, as I'm rolling it out, you can begin to shape it a little bit, right? Because you're never really gonna get a perfect shape, but you can try to get it as perfect as you can. And as you can see, as I'm pushing it out, the flour is kind of falling to the side a little bit. You get a little bit messy, but that's all right, because that's exactly what you want, right? So I'm basically rolling it out to the shape of this cutting board. If you had a bigger cutting board, you could literally do the same thing. Just kind of roll it out, stretch it out, roll it out, stretch it out. It's perfect. And if it begins to stick, the beignet mix, just make sure you add some more flour, roll it out, and it'll come right off once you start to roll it out. All right, so while we're doing that, let me rinse my hands real quick for a second, because we get a little bit messy. Like I said, making beignets, we get a little bit messy. And we're gonna come back and get our shrimp going. All right, so now that it's hot, we're gonna open this up. And what I typically like to do with the shrimp, because what'll happen is the excess shrimp fry or fish fry, whichever one you're doing, some of that will fall to the bottom of your fryer, right? So that's just gonna happen. But you wanna try to minimize it as much as possible. So I normally will only cook, depending on the size of the fryer, I try to do 10 to 12 shrimp at a time, right? So this is medium sized. I might be able to get 15, but on the safe side, I try to do 10 to 12, so I'll count them out. 2, 3, 4, 6, thank you, 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so we have 12. One for luck. Let's go with 13. So we have 13. And this will make it a little bit easier, especially if you're making a lot of sandwiches for like a lot of people. If you do it this way, it'll keep you a little bit more organized instead of just having like this big bundle of shrimp at one time. And so now the fun part. You got your shrimp in a Ziploc bag, and now you just go to work. Make sure it's locked down tight though, because then your head is flying all over the place too. All right, so shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. Get it mixed around really good. Shake it up, we're in the kitchen. There we go.
Mix master.
All right, so now we got it. We got a nice little blend and we got everything shaken up. And then also a good reason to count them out is once it's in the bag, you can't really, see how many you have in there, right? So if you didn't count them, you know, you might end up having like some residual shrimp just sitting around in your fry. You don't want that. You want all the shrimp, right?
All needs to fry.
All right, so here we go. So as you put the shrimp into the fryer, make sure you kind of shake off the excess, right? Like I said earlier, some of the excess breading will fall to the bottom of the fryer. It's inevitable, but you just want to limit that. So as you take them out, make sure you shake them off, and then you swim them in. That's what they call it in New Orleans. You swim it in, right? So there we go.
Oh.
All right. And so as we're doing this, 3,
I guess the high diving bar belly flop wouldn't be smart with hot oil.
No,
Swimming
so
in
look,
low.
if you do that, right, you could take the approach and toss them in, but man,
Exactly.
that oil will come up so high. Trust me, I've been a little kid and I've had that happen a ton of times.
Not fun.
Not a good thing.
No, not fun.
All right. Make sure there's not one extra at the bottom. All right, so that's good. So now we're gonna put that down, put our lid down, and you wanna let them fry for 7 to 9 minutes, right? And you just wanna make sure they're golden brown, because what will happen is, if you try to wait until they're dark while they're in the oil, when you take them out, they get darker as they sit, right? So you wanna take them out when they're like a golden brown.
Okay.
All right, so now, Amy,
Yes.
back to our beignets.
Okay.
Let's see. Hot enough? I don't think we're hot enough yet.
Okay.
So what you want to do now is you want to cut them. So we do have a small knife.
No,
we're
it's
not
not
hot
getting
enough.
hot.
Yeah, we're not hot enough yet. So
Okay.
we're gonna let that go because it has to be really, really,
Sure.
really hot. And typically they will tell you on your cutting board to cut them into 6 pieces. Now, the 6 pieces actually depends on how big you want it to come out, right?
Okay.
So, for all intents and purposes, I want it to come out fairly big.
You like the big ones?
Yeah, I like them.
Okay.
Yeah. I prefer them to be a little bit bigger because what happens is when they're not thick, when you fry them, they get super, super crispy and they'll end up really, really, really thin.
Okay.
Thin and crispy, right? So you won't get some of the doughy part. So yeah, so we're gonna cut down the middle, then we're gonna do another cut here.
Okay. I'm so bummed that my skillet's not.
Well, that's okay, Amy. We got a few minutes. We got
Okay.
a few minutes. And so yeah. So and the beautiful part about this is that when you get the beignet mix, I mean, it really will taste like you got it from Cafe Du Monde. Like you really won't taste any difference as long as you follow the recipe the way it works. So we have this here, and what I will take and do, we have 8 cut up here, right? So I'm gonna take and make one a little bit bigger, right? So
I don't know that I had it connected as well as it should have been. So it was
That's
user
all right.
error. We've made the connection now.
That's
it's
all
gonna
right,
heat
all
up
right.
fast.
So as we let that warm up and get hot, we're just gonna kind of put them together. And-
Oh, you actually layer those. You're gonna fry it like this layer.
Yes. So see, that's how I like it to get puffy. So what will happen is like normally when you go to New Orleans and you go to Cafe Du Monde, any place, and they make it for you, they'll just use an insane amount of this mix when they cut it, right? So like when they cut it, it'll probably already be
That thick.
this thick or even
Okay.
thicker, right? But when you're doing it at home, it's a little bit harder to roll it out and make it stay like that. So what you can take and do is layer them. So you already cut them into squares. Then you can take and layer your squares. And then here's the cool part to keep them together. Separate it and then boom,
Oh, another
roll
one
'em.
over.
flip them over.
Holy
Because
cow.
essentially what you get is a donut.
And it's got some layers.
And it's gonna end up having
Ah.
some layers.
Oh, look.
See,
It was-
now it's,
it
yeah.
was user error.
See, now it's starting to get really, really hot. So we got our shrimp going. It's
You have
starting-
3 minutes left there.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little bit golden.
Okay.
All right, so now we have 4 nice sized beignets
Okay.
that'll be ready to go in the oil. And then if you just want to get cute, right? Because I'm all into presentation. I'm all into presentation. Kind of shape them out. Make sure they get a nice shape so when they cook. Because the funny thing is, whatever shape they are, that's literally what it's going to look like when you fry it, right? So if you want it to be pretty, then you could take some time and put a little love in it.
Okay.
Put a little love in it.
That's the ingredient missing in the
It's
recipe.
love.
It's love.
Love, love. Every time you cook, please cook with love. We can taste it. All right, so there
Some
we
Ted
go.
Lasso love.
Some Ted Lasso love. I'm telling you, this will be just as good as the Ted
I
Lasso
know,
biscuits.
I know it will.
All right, so we got our oil getting really hot. It's bubbling up. But I'm gonna wait a second. And
Okay.
once I see
Yeah.
some steam start
Okay.
to seep off. And so while we're doing that, I see the shrimp has
Yeah.
kind of simmered down. So as we come over here to the shrimp fry, what you can notice is when you put it into the fryer, if you're trying to figure out is it ready, is it not ready, one easy way is that as hot as it was when you first dropped them in, it'll start to kind of like taper off and simmer down while they're cooking. So these are about done. And then we're gonna take them out. And here we go.
Ooh, those look good.
Some nice, pretty, golden fried, and then we let them drain a little bit. Let them drain a little bit. And then boom, right into your bowl. Let it drain a little bit. Real pretty and golden. Right into your bowl. Smells fantastic.
Yeah,
I wish
they
we
look-
had smell-o-vision. Why we need the smell-o-vision?
And
Smell
they're
it really good.
perfect. They're the perfect brown.
All
Pretty
right.
good.
So we can take a look at that if you want one, if you can tilt that up for me, Amy. And then we can work on our second batch of shrimp. Since we got our oil hot already. So we got our second batch, same process. I swear, I'm usually way more dirty at my own house. Like, if I was doing all this simultaneously at home, and there'd be flour everywhere there. So
Yeah,
we want to dip it up.
We don't have that much on us. Pretty good.
All right, so we toss it around. We're getting ready for our second round of shrimp. All right, looking good, looking good. All right, shake them out. There we go. All right. Shake them out. All right. And so Amy has, we could just talk a little bit before you all see the daiquiri that Amy's gonna make. Amy has a daiquiri recipe from Latitude 29, which is a really popular restaurant in New Orleans downtown, right in the French Quarter. And that's gonna be really, really, really great. Juan has already confirmed, but he'll get to confirm again. He'll get to confirm again. Because he volunteered to confirm again.
We brought our official taste tester. He's just on that side of the camera.
All right.
What do you think?
So we're gonna put this down for another 7 to 9 minutes. And Amy, you wanna swim them?
Yeah.
All right.
You want to swim? I can swim them?
Yeah, so you can take one and then real slow. There we go. Swim it in. Swim it in. And we got one more. Swim it in.
Okay.
All right. So with the beignets, while they are cooking, they're gonna cook really, really, really fast. So you wanna turn them at least once, but you wanna let them cook for about a minute
Okay.
on each side, minute and a half.
Okay.
Tops on each side. And then you kind of want to let them, the same way as the shrimp, you want to let them get like a little bit golden.
Okay.
And then once they're a little bit golden, then you're going to take them out because they'll kind of darken a little bit.
Okay.
The rest of the way. All right. So we have our shrimp. We got our second batch of shrimp going. Set this over here. And we got our beautiful shrimp in the bowl. So as you can see, they got a lot darker just from sitting
Yes.
here, right? Versus when I first pulled them out. So we got our beignets.
We got another, well, we got another minute.
Got
Well,
another-
we have another 30
30
seconds.
seconds. Got another 30 seconds. And so now it's like really, really thick. And the good thing about it is once you take them out like this, when you bite into it, it's gonna be like real fluffy.
Lots of layers.
Yeah,
Okay.
pastry-like. So
I've made these at home, and I think I made the mistake of just getting it out there and cutting through, and then I didn't do the doubling and the layering, and
Yeah.
so they were flat. I
Yeah,
didn't like
almost
them.
like a chip. It'll almost come out like a potato
I was like,
chip
well, this
if you
is
do it that way.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, there you
So
go.
see, that's something they don't put on the box, but since
Yeah.
you know you're talking to somebody from New
There
Orleans,
you
I can
go.
give you the tips and the
I love it.
tricks.
I'll buy some of that immediately, and I'll make them at home.
All right. So let's go ahead and turn one over. All right, there we go. Look at that. Nice and golden as she's turning. Nice and golden.
Let's loosen it. Okay, so
All right.
how long on this side?
Same deal.
Okay.
About a minute and a half.
And you think that's enough, or are you gonna want me to flip them again?
So you can gauge them. So some people have their preferences, right? So like if you actually go to Cafe Du Monde, when they take them out, they'll look kind of like this. They're gonna be light brown. Some people want them to be a little bit more crispier
Okay.
on the outside. So if you want them to be crispier on the outside, I would say
One more flip?
one more flip, but don't even do it for a minute and a
Okay.
half. The next flip, only do it for maybe like 30 or 45 seconds.
Okay.
Then do another flip, 30, 45 seconds.
Okay.
And then take it out. Because if you go any longer than that, then they'll just start to soak up the oil.
And they don't taste as
Yeah,
good?
no good.
Okay,
That's not what you want.
we'll give these another 40 seconds.
And let's take a sneak peek on the other side. Let's just glance, see what it looks like. Yeah, let's leave it down a
Okay.
bit longer.
Okay,
All right.
I'm
So this is
excited.
beautiful. So, one, do we have any questions from the audience? Anybody got any questions? It smells so good in here. It smells just like my mama's kitchen.
The recipes were attached at the bottom of the calendar invite that you guys received. We're doing a little update so you know exactly some of the cooking process.
Yes.
Prescott's gonna update that for us, and we will update you guys with that.
And you will get the cooking instructions, and then it'll come out just as perfect as it is
What do you
right
think
here
about
with
these?
us.
They look good enough to
All
you?
right. Yes, that looks pretty good. So
Okay.
one, if you want to zoom in just a little bit so you can get a real good idea of what it should look like when you take it out the oil. So
No,
oops.
I better not do that.
You can just lift one up and kind of show it a little bit. So see, it's kind of like in between a golden brown and then a slightly darker golden brown. But
Oh.
you don't want, what you don't want to do is you don't want to burn it. You burn it,
You'd be sad.
you'll be sad. No good. So now it is time for the best part of having beignets in any way, shape, or form. So let's put it on a plate
Okay.
here. So we can put two on a plate. Typically, when you go to Cafe Du Monde, they will serve you in a bag or on a plate, and they'll give you about 3 of them, and they're really big. So once they put them in a bag, then it's just time to get the confectioner sugar. So make sure you stop at the store, get you some confectioner sugar, and Amy, you
Want me
can do your magic.
Shake?
Shake, 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 keep shaking.
Shaking?
Yeah, keep
Okay.
shaking, keep shaking. Oh, let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, Amy. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. All right,
I
so there
love
we
it.
go. Normally you get a ton of sugar, which is
Okay.
part of what makes it great. When I'm at home, I put a ton of sugar
Okay.
on it, right? I want to be able to like lift it and just sugar everywhere on my hands, there's sugar on the plate, there's sugar everywhere. And if you want, Amy, you can go ahead, taste test it.
Oh, are you
Tell
gonna
me
let
what
me
you think.
taste test this?
Yes, go for it. Yeah. And it has the crunch.
That's what I
Has
like.
the
This is
crunch.
the problem.
So see, if you look in there, so see now you end up getting like this whole layered effect, right? Of how I put it together. So when you bite into it, what's gonna happen is it's gonna be crispy on the outside, but in the middle, you're gonna get a little bit of dough. And also, I'm a real New Orleanian, so you know, we gotta go ahead and sop
Get
it
it.
up, get a lot
I can't
of
believe
sugar
the
in
instructions
it.
don't guide you on that, because this is totally the deal changer. I've made
Yes.
these at home and I was purely disappointed.
Yes, wine, you will not be disappointed. I
They're
promise you.
so good.
I promise you.
I'm gonna get these shook up also.
Ooh. All right. So we have our last batch of shrimp. They are almost ready. All right, and the thing you want to keep in mind when you're frying the shrimp and when you think about how much of it you want to make, like I said, make sure the oil is really, really hot so it can cook fast and crispy and stay together. Also, as you go along, as the excess breading kind of falls off into the oil, it'll start to slow down how fast it cooks, right? No matter how hot you have it. So that's why you kind of want to make sure you kind of plan out how you want to do it, get you a nice good batch, so that way you can get everything really, 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 really crispy. So let me go into it one more time. All right, so this is about ready. I'm gonna go ahead on and be safe and turn my oil off. Here we go, coming out the oil. See, nice light and golden brown. But once they settle, then they'll actually get just a tad bit darker from that golden brown. And if you want them to end up being a little bit lighter, you can take them out earlier. So if you go with that 7 to 9 minute rule, if you take them out around 6, then you'll end up keeping them a little bit lighter once they kind of settle down. All right, and that is it for our shrimp. So now we got us a whole batch. We got us a whole batch of nicely golden fried shrimp right there, butterflied. And you see how they sit when they're butterflied, right? Give you a good example. You see that butterfly makes them open up, lay down for you. That's exactly what you want, because that's where all the flavor is gonna be. Now, the last thing that we are going to do is prepare the sandwich. So Amy got us some Central Market French bread here. You can't make a po' boy without French bread. And so now, this is what you want to do with your bread. Now, what I will say is in New Orleans, if you go to Parkway Po' Boys, which is the best po' boys in New Orleans, in my own personal opinion, Parkway Po' Boys. Remember that, do not forget it. The next time you're in New Orleans, go directly to Parkway Po' Boys and tell them you want either a shrimp po' boy or you want a surf and turf, which will end up being fried shrimp with roast beef and gravy.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yes, yes. I'm about to drool just thinking about it. So you can do surf and turf. You can also do just a roast beef po' boy. They have a ton of different kinds, but the most popular is either the shrimp or the surf and turf. That's roast beef and shrimp po' boys. And also, if you go in there, most presidents have approved. So if you look on the wall, Michelle and Barack are in there with their shrimp po' boy. George W. Bush in there with his shrimp po' boy. All the legends have came through, right? So you look on the wall, you'll see Michael Jackson, you'll see Lenny Kravitz, you'll see a whole bunch of famous people who came through and eaten Parkway Po' Boys. And they were voted by numerous magazines, not just in Louisiana, but nationally, public national publications as the best po' boy in New Orleans. So Parkway Po' Boys. You can always, you can't go to Jean's Po' Boys no more because that doesn't exist, but they used to be really good. You can go to Mike Anderson's is pretty good. And let's see, and actually if you go to any of the neighborhood markets, so if you're like in the French Quarter, and you just stop at like a grocery store, everybody makes them. Like literally everybody makes them, right? So you can get a po' boy from anywhere. So you can't go wrong, but my personal favorite, Parkway Po' Boys. I will say this until I can't. Parkway Po' Boys, it is fantastic. All right, so let's get to our po' boy that we're about to make. So I typically will cut the edges off, right? We can get rid of that. You can cut it off both sides depending on how much you want to make. And then what you want to do is cut about 4 to 5 inches, right? So, I mean, obviously we don't have something to measure it, but I'm gonna eyeball it. You're gonna go about right here. Get you a nice cut. All right. And then Amy, for the time being,
Okay.
you can put that back up.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Now, when you make the cut, there's two schools of thought on doing this. So you can cut long ways right here. You want to go right down the middle from the side. And there's usually a line, if you can see it. There's usually like a crease from where the bread was baked that kind of gives you a guide. And you want to get you a nice knife, go right in between. Now, some people will stop and not go all the way through. Some people will go all the way through and cut it in two halves. I'm a fan of not going all the way through because I like the butterfly everything, and then boom, you open it up. Yes, that's what I like. That's what you want. So you open it up, and then you're gonna take you some mayo. Amy's gonna give me a spoon.
There's your mayo spoon.
Fantastic.
Here's pickle spoon.
All right.
Or pickle
For the
board.
pickle. And now we just need the mayo. All right. So here, Amy stopped and picked up some Duke's real mayonnaise. But what I will say is, being a native New Orleanian, everybody, I mean, my mama, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, they swear by Blue Plate mayonnaise. They don't make anything without Blue Plate mayonnaise. And trust me, there's other mayonnaise on the shelf, but Blue Plate is the way to go. And in most restaurants that you go to, even the most famous ones, Blue Plate mayonnaise is the mayonnaise that they have in the back when they make your sandwich. So
I was definitely coached to get Blue Plate, but they did not have it. Full disclosure. So.
all right, so you want to take you about a tablespoon, and some people might think this is a lot of mayonnaise, right, to be putting on a sandwich. But here's the thing: when you're dealing with French bread, it is really, 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 really thick. All right. So what will happen is, if you use a tiny bit of mayonnaise, once you put everything on the bread, you won't really taste it at all. So you want to go top and bottom and get you really, really good, nice layer of mayo on it. And spread it out, get it real nice. All right. And so once you have that, then the next thing you want to do, Amy, you want your shredded lettuce.
Okay.
And you also want tomatoes. So the classic way to make a po' boy is, in any restaurant you go to, is gonna be, when they ask you how do you want it dressed, the standard is gonna be lettuce, mayo, and tomatoes. Now you can add anything else you want, right? So some people like to add ketchup and mustard, which I do. Some people like to add hot sauce, but the standard is always going to be lettuce and tomatoes and mayo. All right, so next thing you want to do is take your shredded lettuce, right? This is where it gets pretty. So now you want to get you just a nice thick layer of shredded lettuce going, right? And so now we got the lettuce sitting right in this pocket, right? See, this is why I don't cut it in half. If you cut it in half, a lot of that is gonna fall to the side, right? Exactly. That's not what you want. So now you got you a real thick bit of lettuce. And then I'm a fan of tomatoes. So you slice your tomatoes, keep them whole sliced like this. And then as many as your slice of bread can fit. Typically, if you cut it about 5 or 6 inches, you usually can get 3 good slices of tomatoes there. There we go.
Now this may be totally a poor idea.
Okay.
But have you ever considered stripping out some of the inside, or that would just be bad?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Right? But what happens is, if you get a lot of shrimp, the shrimp will kind of make up for how much bread you have in the middle.
Okay.
So there's a school of thought. The other thing is, when you make different kinds of po' boys in New Orleans, so there's shrimp, there's oyster po' boys, there's fish po' boys, people will make hamburger po' boys, like I said, roast beef, tuna. Well, especially if you do roast beef with gravy, you want the bread to kind of soak up that gravy, which gives you like this whole debris, is what they call it. You want the debris falling out your sandwich. So, all right, so.
Prescott.
Yes.
About the pickles?
The pickles. Yes.
Are they standard?
Yes. Pickles are actually not really standard. It's kind of, it depends. I'm a fan of pickles, and I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of Wicked pickles that are seasoned. They have red pepper, they have chili pepper in it, they have garlic in it, etc. It's all mixed up just like Andy Griffin and Aunt B. Trust me, this is much better than Aunt B's pickles. But for anybody out there who knows that reference. But so you want to take and add your pickles right on top of your tomato. And you can add as many pickles as you like. Like people who really like pickles in New Orleans will add extra pickle to their sandwich if they decide to get it. But Wicked pickles are so amazing, they make every sandwich taste great.
They're spicy and they are good.
Yes, so to give it a little bit more kick,
Yeah.
I added about 5 of these pickles. Now you can only do 3, right? One on top of your tomatoes, but I love Wicked pickles, so we're getting wicked.
We're doing
right.
it.
So now, the final thing, the crown jewel of your sandwich, boom, boom. I fill up the crease that I created with my half cut. And then what you want to do is just stuff it. So New Orleans is known for having these overstuffed po' boys, right? So when you open it out the paper or it comes to you on a plate, it's just shrimp just falling everywhere, right? So you end up with like a mini shrimp platter around your sandwich. So boom, here we go. Here we go. As many as you like. As many as you like. All right, now here's the kicker. Hot sauce. My wife loves hot sauce on her po' boy. So that's one of the main things. Like most people will put hot sauce versus ketchup and mustard. But Louisiana hot sauce is really good. You can use any hot sauce you like, but you know, I'm a Louisiana boy, so I'm recommending the Louisiana hot sauce. So we're gonna put a little bit, just a little dab of hot sauce. There we go. Not a whole lot, because it's really strong. So now we got the Wicked pickles kicking.
And Tony doesn't come in.
No
Okay.
Tony. You only use Tony to season. And so now, Wine, it's time for us to attempt to close it up. And then what's gonna happen is you're gonna get them falling off. You're gonna get some stuff falling off, and that's all right. And then you wanna squeeze it down, right? So we got some excess. You squeeze it down. And if you want, most places will serve it to you this size and leave it whole. Some places will cut it in half. So we're gonna hold it down and we go, move the fork, we go right in the middle of that. And voila, there you have it.
Yay!
There you go, your shrimp po' boy. With your debris, your extra debris. That's what you want. You paid a lot of money for it. You paid $7 to $8, maybe even 13 in some cases for that po' boy. I want the debris, right? And there you go, your shrimp po' boy with your beignets, and then there you go, your New Orleans daiquiri. You are done. You can eat and then get the itis and fall asleep.
I love it. Looks absolutely delicious. It smells even better. You guys should know that.
Do we have a second to let Wine taste test it? Wine, you want to taste test
Yeah,
it?
you want to come around and taste test?
Okay, all right. Well, no taste testing, but take my word on it. It's fabulous and fantastic. So.
Okay, so I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. We of course want to thank Juan and Mara Carstrea because they're behind the scenes, but without them we could never pull these events off. If you by chance have a favorite thing that you would love to share, we would love to have you. We've got these booked monthly through the end of the spring. I mean, we can all hope that someday soon we'll be back together, but until that day, we would love to continue with these. So if you have an idea, please email me at amy.estes@tcu.edu. We'd love to have you on the show. So again, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my guests
You're welcome.
for the evening, and we look forward to seeing you again in a month for some more food.
What's up, everybody? I'm Prescott Stokes III, the Integrated Content and Marketing Manager here at the School of Medicine, and also the host of FWMD Live. If you like what you just saw, well then I'm gonna need you to stay right here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on this video below, and keep pressing play because there's more video and more great content just like this one on this page. Don't leave, and I'll see you soon.